Welcome to the start of a new era here on the channel, Backing the Boro in the 4 o'clock Monday to Friday slot. Who'd have thought we'd ever reach this point? We're in the Championship with a main event on the channel. Goodness me, how times have changed, and I'm very excited for it. Something else I'm very excited about, if you're watching this the day it first came out, is the FM Charity Cup. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, me and a whole load of other Football Manager content creators headed over to Leamington FC, where we played a football match for charity. I didn't play, but I was there, and I'm part of the video that has been produced, and that video is premiering tonight on Dr. Benji's channel, 7 o'clock. It's going to be live streamed from 7 through till 9-ish, and we're all going to be hanging out in the chat as well, so you can get involved, chat with us about the day whilst watching the video. I've not seen it. It's the first time I'll have seen it too, even though I'm a big part of it, so it's going to be fun for me to watch. And then straight after that, here on this channel, I'm going to be releasing my behind the scenes video of that day. So that'll be at about 9 o'clock tonight, my behind the scenes video of that day, which will then be followed by Non-League to Legend live over on Twitch. What a day! Like I said, new era. Hello and welcome to part 92 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we're at home against Reading and away against Millwall, both in the Championship. Since you were last with me, we had a little bit of an iffy patch, but then we've turned it round. We're unbeaten in 3 games. Dan Fisher's started scoring goals at this level. Andrew Skelton is starting to look like the hero that we all know he is. And we won our last game as well to put an end to a 5-game run without a win. All of that means we find ourselves 17th place, which, if we finish there, we'd be absolutely delighted with that. We're about a quarter of the way through the season, still ahead of the Kev ratio with 12 points from our first 11 games. Only 4 points clear of relegation, so it would be nice to start extending that gap as the season goes on. But I'm pretty happy with how we're doing, how form is going, how our points are stacking up, so I'm not concerned. A lot of people in the comments do seem to be concerned, saying, Kev, there's no room for sentimentality. Kev, you can't play attacking all the time in the Championship. Kev, you need to drop your defensive line. Kev, you need to not focus on some of these players you've had for years, like Joe Anderson and Josh Sawyer. And to all of that, I say nay. We'll be fine. And specifically on the Joshua Sawyer one, I just want to raise this as an issue because a few people have picked on Joshua Sawyer. Can I point out, similar to what I was saying with Robbie Nadat last week, I know Sawyer's been around for a long time, so we might think that he's over the hill. He still qualifies for Young Player of the Year. He's only 23, and he's still got potential to improve. 3.5-star current ability with 4-star potential at Championship level. Yes, he's played all these seasons for us. This is his 6th year at the club, but he's still a youngster with room to improve. Absolutely, we're going to keep playing Joshua Sawyer because he's going to be an absolute superstar at this level. He will be an established Championship player even if he leaves us at this point. So goodness me, we're going to play Sawyer as much as we possibly can to help him continue to improve, and that goes for a lot of these other players. Even someone like Joe Anderson, finally he's not showing as having potential. He has hit his prime years, but a 3-star quality Championship left back, that'll do. I'm on board with that. He's in his 10th year with the club as well. Testimonial next summer, hopefully, after we all enjoyed the Sir Tom Elliott one last year. I could get on board with having testimonials a bit more often. But we're not going to fiddle too much. We know what we've got will work as much as we need it to work. We shouldn't get relegated this year. Fingers crossed. So this is the team we're putting out there for the first of today's 2 games against Reading. We've got Mitchell in goal. A back four of Anderson, Hughes, Sawyer and Ibrahim, with Fletcher, Longden and Skelton in midfield, and Richardson in behind Fisher and German. After all that rant, I have dropped James Ball down to the bench in recent games just because Richardson is, he's a bit good, so we're giving him a little bit of a run in the team at the moment. Longden, I think this is his first start of the season. I know you've met him, we saw him in the previous episode, but he's already started having a little bit of a whine that he's not in the team regularly, so we're giving him a start today. If he looks good, then we'll keep him in the team going forward. But he's one of the ones who came in the summer with a little bit more experience. If we just pause and have a little look at him. So Ollie Longden, he's 25 years old, 3.5-star current ability player, been around in the Championship. He's got, 5-6 years of Championship level experience, played a full season in League One last year. He's started 4 games already. Shows how much I was paying attention when I was playing this last week. Why is he whinging about not getting in a team then? He literally wants to play every week, does he? I thought when he came to me 2 days before this match and said, Kev, I want to play some football. I thought, you know what, Ollie? That's a reasonable request. It's not reasonable if you've already started 4 matches out of 11. That's almost half the games for a new player. Do you not know how we do things here at Nuneaton? New players do not just waltz into this team. You have to earn your place. Unless you're called Mitchell and you're playing goal, in which case you kind of just slot straight in because all our other goalkeepers are rubbish. But, you know, everyone else has to earn their place. And you're no different, Ollie. Although, hopefully you'll earn your place today and we'll end up having a really good, more defensively minded midfield player. Because at the moment, we are struggling a little bit with our defending. We're also getting an awful lot of red cards, particularly in the fullback position. We've had 5 red cards already this season. We're leading the division for red cards. Ricky German puts us 1-0 up. I mean, it's always the fullbacks. And I know why it's happening. They're our only width. They're getting very isolated. They're not very good at defending. We're constantly telling them to push forward and then track back, and there's lots of last-ditch tackles coming in from our fullbacks. I am on the verge, after saying I'm going to change nothing, I am on the verge of switching to a diamond and sticking maybe an anchorman or a half-back in front of the back 4, continuing to tell the fullbacks to push on the way they do now. I still want them to be the players who give me my width, but just have an extra man in there just to offer a little bit of protection, really to tuck in into those fullback positions when they're pushing forward. I just want someone who can slot in on either side as needed. German's through again. Can he finish for a second time? Of course he can't. It's a terrible finish from Ricky German, but he scored the first one, so we'll let him get away with that horrific miss for the second one. But obviously we know that there's no way we're getting through this second half without conceding a goal. So if we want to win today, which we do, back-to-back wins would be lovely, then we're going to need to score at least once more. So hopefully we don't end up paying for Ricky German's big miss. Although to be fair, we've had one clear-cut chance and we've scored it, so can't really complain at that. Longdon's made a couple of decent interceptions already. I am keeping an eye on him in that deep line playmaker role, and he's getting about a bit and putting some tackles in and making himself available for passes. I quite like him. I might have to use him a little bit more. German plays Skelton in. Skelton scores. Wow, okay. I was expecting him to cross it and stopped when he didn't. I don't really understand what's happened here. Let's have a little look at this from the other angle. So German plays Skelton through. And at this point, I'm convinced Skelton's just going to burst into the area, then cross it. But in actual fact, he hits it towards the keeper, who managed to push it into their own post and then back into the goal. It's gone down as an own goal from the keeper. I don't understand how he managed it, but he did. It's 2-0. Skelton gets away with being quite greedy, actually, in a position where he should have squared it to both Fisher and, I don't know if German had made it there, but Fisher and maybe Richardson as well had made their way into the 6-yard box, and should have squared it from one of them, but we scored anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Fisher's in behind now. Can he make it 3? Straight at their keeper, but we are creating some chances, and I like it. We're actually starting to look a little bit like Nuneaton again. Reading are down in the relegation zone. They're a team that we absolutely do need to be able to beat, which is the kiss of death, really, because presumably they're going to go on and beat us now. But we're playing really well against them. We're now knocking the ball around nicely as well, and German just with half a yard of space to dash into, but couldn't quite get there. But we're playing well. We'll give this a thumbs up so far, but now Richardson's injured, so let's take him off. We've got James Ball on the bench. It seems silly to keep Richardson on any longer than we need to when we've got one of the best players in the history of this football club sat on the bench ready to come on in that same position. So Ball can just slot straight in there just to keep our energy levels up. Apparently he's suffered a tight calf but should be able to play through it. Thanks, assistant manager. He went off 10 minutes ago. Yay. Right, let's make another substitution. Who are we going to bring off? We're going to take off Fletcher in the midfield, bring on Alex Barber. We've got a lot of good Carrileros, and good Carrileros always make me happy. I do enjoy a Carrilero, and I'm now thinking in terms of what our third substitution should be. I'm toying with the idea of making a tactical change as well, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to do it. But I was just going to drop Longdon back. Although he's playing so well as a deep line playmaker, that seems like a silly thing to do, so perhaps I won't do that. What we'll do instead is we'll take off Sawyer and bring on Jake Laskowski, just purely for championship experience for him. He's another one who's been around forever, so we assume he's quite old, but I think he's similar sort of age to Sawyer, 23, 24. These players have got potentially another 10 years playing at this kind of level. So it's important to get the game time in him as much as we possibly can. Even though we've only 10 minutes to go, I don't think it counts as player development game time. I think they need the 15 minutes that gets them a rating for it to count for that. Although, you know, he's had nearly 15 minutes. He'd come on the 80th minute mark. Give Laskowski a rating. That's what we're looking for here. Longden again, through to all. Longden's played really, really well today. He's offered some nice protection in front of that back four. He's been a little outlet when we need him. We might have our deep lying playmaker that's going to help solve some of our defensive problems and mean we don't have to resort to a diamond, which is good. Right, hopefully we can have a similarly very good performance against Millwall and maybe, just maybe, end the episode in the top half of the table, which would be insane. It's a sad day in the history of Nuneaton Town Football Club. We always knew it was coming. I've asked him to I had the wrong thing. I mean, I was trying to be emotional. I had the wrong thing up. Brilliant. I'm not going to redo it because I'm Kev. Tom Elliott's announced his retirement. Sir Tom Elliott has announced his retirement for the end of the season. It means that after an illustrious career at Nuneaton, he will never get the opportunity to play in the Premier League. He will absolutely play in the Championship at some point this season, probably after we've secured safety, or but already been relegated. He'll definitely get a game at this level, but he will never get the opportunity to play for us in the Premier League unless he reconsiders and we get promoted this year. Loyal veteran, should be a legend, should be an icon or a legend at the club. For those of you who always ask, there still doesn't seem to be any way to tell him to be a member of staff. I think he's not interested. He just wants to leave football, I guess. If we have a look at his future plans, no plans for the future, considering option to stay on for another year, no mention of becoming a member of staff in any way, which is a shame because I'd love to have him as my assistant manager. It just isn't going to happen. So Tom Elliott, at the end of this season, will no longer be a part of Nuneaton Town Football Club, even though he's getting quicker in his old age, bless him. Trying to get ourselves emotionally straight again. For the Millwall game, we've made just the one change. Top scorer Lee Weaver is now fit again, so comes back into the team. German might feel a little bit hard done by to drop out, but Weaver and Fisher is the partnership, and with Weaver fit again, we've just got to get him back in the team as soon as possible. So German's there to come on, but Weaver's not going to make it through to the end of the game, presumably. He's only starting on 84% conditioning, so if we can get an hour out of Lee Weaver and a couple of goals, we've then got Ricky German to come on as a perfectly adequate replacement for him. The issue comes in if Dan Fisher gets himself injured in the first 20 minutes, because we have only got the one striker on the bench as a way of accommodating Ball, Johnson and Craigan, because Craigan's there as an option as another defensive-minded midfield player. I think I'm pretty much settled on Longden for the time being as a deep-lying playmaker, but if it stops working, plan B was, and I expected to do it in this episode, plan B was a diamond with Owen Craigan playing deep, because he's a natural defensive midfielder who we've been training to play central midfield, but he's there with all his potential and all his awesomeness. He's the hot prospect at the club according to the club page, and he's a defensive midfielder, so any excuse to get him in the team really, because he looks like he's going to be a bit special. But if we don't switch to that system, he's just going to have to continue training to be a midfielder and get in the team that way, which I guess is fine too. I'm sad about Sir Tom Elliott. I can't string sentences together. Richardson tries to play Weaver in, but it doesn't quite get through, and we get hit on the break by Millwall. And yeah, it's going to happen from time to time, and I know the Kev drop your defensive line crew are going to be back now, and I acknowledge we probably should, because yet again it's a big ball over the top. My issue with dropping the defensive line back, and the reason that I don't do it, is because it then leaves that massive gap between the midfield and the defence, which I feel like that's then a gap that teams can play in and exploit. So I'd rather be suspect to balls over the top than just give people space to play in front of our back four, force our midfield further back. It's going to make our high tempo, compressed pressing game much less effective if we drop the defensive line back. See, Kev does know a little bit about tactics, but if we end up popping in a defensive midfielder, part of that is going to be we'll drop the defensive line and stick a defensive midfielder in that gap. So there is some thought going into it. But Lee Weaver grabs an almost immediate equaliser. That's why he's back in the team. I think that might be his 10th goal of the season. He might already be into double figures at this level. And I am thinking, you know, we're in the Championship now. If we get Weaver or Fisher, they're probably the only two who are young enough for it to happen for. But with Weaver or Fisher, if one or both of them get 25 goals this season, surely 25 goals at Championship level makes them worth multi-million pounds. And we could perhaps sell one of them for massive money to a Premier League team, maybe. Or does it not really work like that? Because I know in real life, if you come up having consistently scored goals at every level, you burst into the Championship and you've got 15 goals by Christmas, like Weaver's probably going to have. Surely that makes you worth 5, 6, 7 million pounds in the January transfer window. Skelton's picked up a knock. Let's just have a look what's wrong with him. In fact, Hughes and Skelton are both injured. Hughes has got a thigh injury. Skelton a foot injury. We'll give them both 15 minutes and see how they get on. Skelton is a worry because Skelton is head and shoulders above everyone else in this team, is our best player, and we can't really afford for him to have broken his foot or anything like that. But the fact he hasn't had to come off immediately suggests that's probably not what's happened. But I don't know, do I take him off? I'm toying with taking him off. But then I'm also looking at Weaver. There's 3 players there we could probably all do with coming off. And I think we'll make a double substitution now. And we're going to bring on Jay Johnson for Skelton. And we're going to bring on Ricky German for Weaver. Hughes is going to have to sit it out for another 15 minutes or so. And hopefully be okay. You know, there's your typical Kev substitution there. We've got an injured defender. We'll leave him on. It's fine. We haven't got any more centre-backs who are any good. We'll leave the injured one, it's fine. But protect the attacking midfielder and the striker at all costs. And, of course, we concede a goal immediately. Through no fault of Hughes's, I might add. But I imagine both me and him will get some of the heat for that. Dan Fisher's not having a very good game at all, but we don't have another striker on the bench. But I have got James Ball on the bench. And I'm looking at Richardson and thinking maybe Ball comes on. Cragen's sat there as well. Not really an option to change the game in midfield. So I think we bring on Ball for Richardson and hope that James Ball comes on and does one of his special James Ball things that we know he does. I just realised that's Idris Kanu playing for Millwall off of my Football Manager mobile save that I did before Christmas. Posh youngster. Right, Longdon with a free kick. Wowzers, that was not far away from quite a long way out. I tell you what, Longdon looks pretty good. I think Longdon is going to be a bit of a fixture in this midfield 3 now. And, there you go, Idris Kanu is now injured. Again, 10 minutes after he's gone off. Have we got the chance for a last-minute equaliser? It's Ricky German, and he was offside, and that is probably that. A defeat away against Millwall is nothing to be ashamed of. We've ended the episode in slightly better shape than we started it. We're now 2 points to the good when it comes to the Kev ratio, 15 points from 13 games. We're still comfortably in that sort of lower mid-table area. I can handle winning our home games and losing our away games for the rest of the season. If we do that, we're going to be fine. If you have enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Don't forget, 7 o'clock tonight, head over to Dr. Benji's channel for the FM Charity Cup. I will join you there in the chat, and then back here for 9 o'clock for my behind-the-scenes look at that very same event, including a matchday vlog, touchline interviews, all sorts of awesome stuff that didn't make the final cut of the main event itself. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.